What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today we are going over the Expunge Delphi Mission, which is the final iteration of our Expunge Quest for this season. Now, this Delphi is a combination of all three that we've had so far. Tartarus on Europa, right here, the Styx mission on the moon, and finally our first Expunge mission right here, Labyrinth. For completing this Delphi Expunge, you are able to get a few different triumphs done, couple that work towards the seal right here, complete all of the Path of the Splicer quests, which this is part of the last quest, number 8, and you also get Daywalker, defeat the source of the endless night. Two other ones that you can get is called True Variable, Expunge Delphi Solo without dying, and then Unpredictable, just complete Delphi without dying. This can be done in a team, but Bungie said in the past that they changed it, so if one person goes flawless but the other two die, you used to be able to get rewards, but now the entire fire team has to make it through without dying. So if you can do it by yourself, you can get both of these done, and this So before I get into the mission, I'm going to go over my loadout that I used to do it solo flawlessly, but at the end of the video, after I show you how the mission actually works, I will give you some extra alternate loadouts here, because I know not everybody has Succession from Deepstone Crypt or Anarchy, which is by far the best PvE DPS gun in the game. Super easy, throw 2 on there and you can just walk away. Obviously, for my loadout, I'm using Coda the Missile right here with our bangin' chess piece, Curious of the Falling Star, the Succession Raid Sniper from Deepstone Crypt, my baby right here, my Ikelos SMG for those War Mine cells, and then finally the DPS God, Anarchy. So as I stated before, Delphi is a combination of all three that we have had in the past. Starts out just the same right here with the little labyrinth maze in the very beginning. And as I have said before, I have everything unlocked for the Splicer Gauntlet, so I am able to use these security hacks and give different routes and secret passages open that create so much easier pathing during certain parts of the mission. Especially here, you cut off a lot of time off of your runs just by doing it like this, and you can avoid some crazy deaths that could possibly happen. So, another thing doing this solo that I would suggest, once you jump down here, this yellow wall will kill you if it hits you at all. So if you don't see it come through as you are jumping down, come back right here just to avoid that wall, because like I said, it will kill you no matter what, and then now you don't have to worry about it if you can make it through this part right here fairly quickly. It's not too hard to do, especially on certain characters, if you know your character well. Warlock, Hunter, they're all the same for completing this. All have high DPS exotics to use and really do damage on this final boss. My biggest issue with this part right here are those triangles that keep coming down, and usually that's what I die to the most. Somehow get boxed right off the edge and into the pit of despair underneath right there. Next, right there, as you go through that first portal, usually you can keep W key, run forward, whatever you're using a controller, but this time make sure you go through it. or the unstoppable champion that comes in the corrupted version of this. We don't have to fight any of those until later on. So, a heads up, there are overload champions in here, so that is something you can put on an SMG, whatever you're using, a hand cannon, to go through this if you don't have it on. This is the part I'm talking about. Usually you go to that little platform over there, but this time you get sent to, look at that, the corrupted Styx side of the mission here. So as you can see right here, I did have to switch to a hunter for this part of the run, the Styx, and then also Tartarus, just because for whatever reason when I was recording with my face cam and the game, it just wasn't working once enemies started to get super dense, especially during the boss room, because there is a lot of AoE damage going on, and every time I shot a War Mine cell, the recording basically went down to like 3 FPS and just you couldn't see a thing. So I figured that I would at least give you guys some higher quality recording and then just talk over it. So sorry if there is a couple little bumps in the actual audio and me explaining things, because I'm just watching back this gameplay and explaining it. But we are on to the Styx side of Delphi. Just like the corrupted version of it, you have to make your way through this branch right here of the mission, destroy the little harpy that's glowing red to access that crystal behind the shield. Now there is a decent amount of enemies because it's giving you both the corrupted enemies and the non-corrupted enemies. As you will see in the boss fight, it is pulling all the Tartarus missions together basically and running them in tandem. So each of the branches and parts that you do are enemy-wise both corrupted and the uncorrupted normal version as well. So, as you can see right here, once you destroy that red harpy that was underneath me, the crystal behind me is unlocked and you are able to grab it. Mine accidentally fell off, but I have said that doesn't matter. You just wait a couple seconds and then it will reform wherever it fell off. So, for this part, I highly suggest, if you're going for the flawless, that you stop at each one of those and make sure you have your 10-second expiration on it. And then once you get to the second one right there, I would drop it and just wipe out enemies, because there are a lot of enemies in this section that do a lot of damage, including that hobgoblin, a taken captain, and a couple fanatics that leave those pools of radiant fluid that, if you do stand in them, do a lot of damage. So make sure you wipe out this blight as soon as you can, because once the blight is gone, you are able to go through this doorway and deposit your key in the spot that you need. Now, loadout wise, my personal opinion, I like the SMGs over hand cannons for overload, but that's just me. I know hand cannons have a little bit extra range and some good rolls this season, but I still think an SMG is the way to go for this part, at least for me, especially if you're using Ikelos with War Mine cells. So that is the end of the Styx section of Delphi. You go through the portal and we are on to the Tartarus section of the mission. So this Tartarus part of the mission is by far the easiest to me. It is where you kill these two taken phalanxes right here that are glowing red, and they unlock the conflux cubes that are right above each one of them to destroy. There is also an overload hobgoblin here and right before the boss portal that you have to shoot to make sure that the portal gets opened. So once you stand and unlock that conflux, you get security access just like our other two Tartarus, and make sure you shoot both of the cubes. War Mine cells work perfect. As you can see, they blew up both cells with just one shot. So, right here is the last portal that you have to get through. This right here is that overload hobgoblin that I'm talking about that has to be destroyed before you are allowed to go through that final portal right there, which it is not that hard of an overload to kill. So, you can drop that guy and then head back to where the conflux usually is, and you can place a rally banner so you are able to get your heavy as well as your super back. So that makes it super nice going into the boss fight. Now, the boss fight for me, I did the very beginning on this guy, and then I did record my flawless run way earlier in the day with my Titan without the screen or anything like that with my face, so I will be talking over that as well. But for this boss fight, as you can see, we got a giant Hydra with 2 different shields on it. This is because both shields represent a Minotaur on the left and the right that you have to destroy. Just like normal Bungie fashion, you do a 3rd damage on the boss, he goes immune, and you have to do a certain task to make the boss unimmune. The task within this boss phase right here is to kill the Minotaurs one at a time. So you can either do the normal Minotaur or this taken one right here, and it involves depositing the authenticity keys in a little portal, which once again drops the shield on the Minotaur. Doing this thing solo, especially if you're going for the flawless, make sure you are dropping this key card and destroying enemies in your path, because they will knock you off pretty easily, and make sure you have the expiration up to a full 10 seconds, because if you don't, it is very hard to make it to some of these extra key codes. You need that basically full 10 seconds to make it, especially when you're going from the second stop to the deposit at the end, which unlocks the Minotaur. Once you deposit the key code, actually, though, the Minotaur is unlocked and you can destroy it. Once you destroy the Minotaur, all the enemies on that platform will disappear. There's a little delay of like 3-5 seconds, so after that, the enemies will disappear, so it is just nice to wipe out the boss. You don't really have to worry about enemies unless you have to kill them before wiping the boss, if you don't have heavy, etc. But as you can see, once you destroy that taken Minotaur, the boss becomes unimmune again and you can do damage, but this time, because the taken for me was destroying first, the taken shield surrounding the boss is also gone, and only the normal one remains for this second third of DPS that you have to do. Like I said, Anarchy right here, you just do 2 ticks, bada bing, bada boom, it is already done, and I have to move on to the normal Minotaur at this point. Once again, you have to watch out though for those little red cubes house those little harpies that detain you, so just be careful with jumping across certain areas, because those little harpies will detain you and make you get stuck in somewhat bad spot, which you do not want to be when you're trying to get over to these other portals and deposit your key card. So once again, this side is just a rinse and repeat, actually, of the dark side, the taken Minotaur over there. So you make sure you wipe out your enemies as you're going through, because those phalanx especially will throw you off immediately, and that is not what you want for the flawless runs, because, you know, the boss should be what kills you, not some stupid enemy with a shield. So once you deposit your second key card, you can destroy your second Minotaur, as you see right here. Once the Minotaur is gone, you are able to do your final third DPS on the boss. Now, the boss gets pretty hectic right here, because it just throws Vex Wall after Vex Wall after Vex Wall at you, and if you don't have your Splicer Gauntlet all the way unlocked, where the Vex Walls do less damage for you, they will kill you super fast. Even I almost die right here, and I have the less damage on because of all the enemies around. But as you can see, once I throw my last 2 Anarchies on this boss, it does enough damage to destroy it, and you get your flawless run, no problem. Don't have to worry about any of these enemies. You get your unpredictable, you get your ghost, and you get true variable. Make sure to collect that corrupted chest at the end. Hopefully this helped you guys out. Alright, so here, in my personal opinion, are some other loadouts that you can use weapons-wise that still utilize Overload Champions and Barrier, which is all I've seen in Delphi. There isn't any Unstoppables, so you don't really need that Grenade Launcher, Breach, anything like that. So, Chroma Rush Auto Rifle, one of my favorite auto rifles that came out this season. This thing is amazing, both PvE and PvP. You can use this for your barrier champions, and it has a 60 round mag, so it is wonderful. Next off, I have a Hung Jur that I really love to use. Also good for barriers, and you have that little extra distance for shooting some of those hobgoblins and cubes in the end. Which brings us to a sniper that everybody can get. It's a world drop. This Long Shadow, probably your best bet. That is not the Succession in my opinion. I love this sniper, but it is still no Succession, but everybody can get it like I said, so this is a very, very viable gun for this mission. Moving on to our secondaries. Borrowed Time SMG right here for those overloads. I love it. It comes from Gambit. It is a super good PvE SMG. We have another sniper in our mix, the Frozen Orbit right here, once again for those far enemies. You can use a Gnawing Hunger, which is a world drop again. This is a barrier, which can be applied. So one of my favorite guns ever for PvE right here. And then if you have Adored from last season, another great sniper for this slot. Now, on to our heavies, which this is where it gets kind of interesting because I know not everybody can have some of these exotics yet. You can get Deathbringer and Xenophage by yourself just through some quests. There's nothing tied to raids or spoils, so these things are amazing and you can grab them just through quests. I suggest, like I said, Xenophage or Deathbringer, perfect exotics for this. And if you can't get that, these two rockets right here, Royal Entry, which is from Strikes, and you can get that at the end of Strikes via a drop, or Code Duello from last season's Umbral Engram system or Battlegrounds. I have lasting impressions on this, and it does a lot of damage on bosses. So that would be some of my alternative loadouts, a combination of these weapons between your primary, secondary, and heavy. I know it's kind of a long video, but I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.